we're exploring, we're just, we're the two women who both come from immigrant background. Our parents were not born in US. Your parents were not born in US. None of them.
My mother, she
Mm-hmm.
was she's Puerto Rican, and so she grew up in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
but in a household that was very much Spanish speaking, very religious. And then my father came over in 1969 from the Philippines. So mixed household, mixed ages as well, significant age difference. So generation, you add on
Yeah.
two different cultures and a over 20-year difference between my parents' ages created some interesting dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, my parents, I would say, are rebels in a sense because she's Russian and he is Ukrainian Jew. And when they
Mm.
got married, her mother didn't, my grandmother on the Russian side didn't want them to marry because of the Jew hate. So, and she tried it
Mm.
actually to break them apart even when my brother was born. Just think about it.
Wow.
So they're still together now in Israel. They realized their Zionist dream. My dad dreamed to come back to his historical land. I remember always growing up, just knowing that you're Jewish and this is the place that you're born, but this is not your home. Your home is Israel. This is the home of Jewish people. And I had my time like rebelling even this narrative and questioning a lot of things and talking to Arabs and Palestinians and trying to build the picture from all angles. um, but in terms of the relationships, what I realize is, as I have been moving from Ukraine, so in this lifetime, right, I was born in Ukraine. When I was 14, my family moved to Israel because they understood anti-Semitism is not going anywhere as much as they try to be socially active. And my father was one of the key figures in the revolution that happened in Ukraine when Soviet Union broke down and Ukraine received its liberty. And that is crazy when I'm thinking about it right now. They both were engineers, so they were working their day jobs. They had my brother, then later 13 years they had me. They both are children of the war. They were doing those jobs. Then they were socially active. My dad was able to return to synagogues to the Jewish people in Lvov, where he was born, because they were used, one was used as a place to store like empty bottles from liquor, etc. Beautiful temple, like a beautiful synagogue, very exceptional, with murals and was just it's such trauma, right, that continues. And I'm not talking to you about Holocaust. I'm talking to you about when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Right. And they somehow still have like time and they so but still the society and what I meet with my clients, I've been doing this work for many years with Russian speaking women and Russian speaking men. It's like you don't know what you don't know. The entire culture, the entire culture is what is normal. It's cruel, it's rude. It's what I think for Americans would be way unacceptable as something that is normal. And this is also where the difficulty happens when you immigrate. You begin to meet yourself now in the new framework of people who don't talk this way to each other and don't relate and they don't impose and they don't demand from relationships. There is, they don't manipulate like there are some. And this is where I think the melting pot and things begin to shift and change. And, we are meeting each other here, different cultures, different people, hopefully talking to each other, hopefully as, not, maybe not as much as we could, but yeah.
Yeah, and if we gain the awareness somehow that what we're meeting up against cross-culturally is this, in effect, a mirror. It reveals, oh, wow, now that I'm witnessing this other culture operate in this different way and operate maybe, let's say, well, and then it kind of reflects on our own upbringing and the different types, not just like culture as it relates to our ethnicity, but all of the smaller individual cultures within a culture, right? There's all these different layers. And
Right.
if we have enough awareness, we can go, okay, let me make a conscious decision to learn from maybe something positive we're witnessing in a friend group, another family that's you're close to, a sister, a female friend that you have. And I find that I speak with a lot of my female clients. I ask them, what's their social network like? Again, they come to me saying, fix my libido. And I ask these questions and they're like, why do you want to know what friends I have? Why do you need to know what my bedroom looks like? And it's all, and I try and frame, and I say, any question I ask, you don't have to answer. And any question I ask, know that I'm asking for a reason. And it might not be obvious at first, but if you're open to the process, humor me. So this question about, well, what's your friend circle like? Now that you maybe have your first or second kid, did you keep in contact with friends from college? Did you go to college? What did you go to a training program? Where's the social connections, the through line? And many women will say that they've got maybe one friend that they kept from a young age, then this huge chunk of female connections that was around college age, regardless of your education, just around that age, taper
By
off,
the way,
marriages,
this is
kids.
very common. Yeah, in general, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's very understandable. We already built their safety, we built those relationships, and once we have it, then it's very comforting. Like, why would you then step outside of that? Unless
Yeah,
you grow and evolve and your friends evolve and grow in a different way, this is where it begins to shake.
yeah. And so a lot of times I see it have to do with logistics and moving away and just one person deciding to put more effort in the other. And then a friendship will just wither away. Sometimes a conflict is around kids. One woman will have kids, the other one won't. And then they
Mhm,
feel like they can't relate as much to each other because one is going through a motherhood experience, right? So it takes extra
mhm,
effort to maintain and honor and not feel jealous of the kid without or the friend without kids because you're kind of seeing the things they're still able to enjoy and honoring both of those spaces, right? So then fast forward, it's like, okay, you're struggling within your marriage. Do you have another female friend to talk to? And often they may have one, but they're ashamed to share something like this. And then it's like, well, why do you feel shame? Do you feel this specific friend will judge
mhm.
you? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bring something that maybe is going to be contradictory. I wonder what you will say about it, about what
Yeah,
I'm going
let's
to
talk
say.
about it. Mm-hmm.
Because I have a very deep belief after I've been working with couples I mean, not that I had a lot of couples, it's not like thousands, I don't know, probably a few dozens couples. But what I came to believe and practice that couple relationships, you don't talk about it with anyone besides your partner. Why? Because then you take all that energy. You this is for the long term, like if you want to build a lifelong relationship with this one person and you're exclusive. Because the idea behind this construct is that you channel all the energy and all the conflict is going to be resolved here. And then this is why I believe people should know about couples therapy, because a friend is not able to give you. And it's not only they're not able to give you, you are going to take off. The moment I see a woman come to, and this is actually why I uncoupled from many women's circles. This was my challenge. I'm not going to be there to contain women trash their husbands, because this is what I witnessed a lot. And this is a lot happening in Russian speaking culture. So it's like this female, there's male kinship and there's female kinship that is about, we sit together and we kind of like, oh, and Maya is doing this and Maya is doing this. Or like we just kind of share the most intimate, sacred details without even consent of this person with this other people who, it's like, what are you doing? It's sort of like, what are you doing? This
I
is your
see what
beloved.
you're saying.
This is your God. And then they, of course, look at me as I'm crazy. Who is this crazy? What does she thinks? But she knows what she what she says and why she says it. You know what I mean? And from
I
that perspective, it's like, go to therapy. Yes, go to therapy. Freaking pay the money it costs for someone to do the work with you that will actually bring you closer and help you evolve together as a power couple. Because let me tell you, when you have intellectually, emotionally, sexually satisfying relationship and you're moving, then you're going to be like moving together in your dream actualization and the abundance and everything. But you need to do this. And it's a work. There is a lot of things that are going to be happening as you are meeting mirror to mirror, especially within the twin flame relationship. True, right? You have love that pulls you like this. It holds you very strong because you connect to, in my relationship, it's like I look into his eyes and I see King David. I look into his eyes and I see Tammuz and I see myself as Ishtar, and then I see him as Ishtar, and he
Mhm.
plays with me and I play with him, and it's like, oh, it's fascinating. It's like living inside of the unfolding Disney movie.
I'm so glad you brought up, I mean, brought up the therapy and the importance of that container, and where I see the value. Let me put it this way. I totally acknowledge something you're touching base on, which is this trash talking our partners in these groups of women, whether it's a actual like a women's circle officially, or just amongst your friends in a complaining, trash talking way. That's very different from what I was starting to talk about. This is,
Mm.
to me, without boundaries. It is in effect trash talking, especially when you know that in a lot of these scenarios, that woman isn't also having productive conversations with her husband. Um, it's, if it only exists in this, let me vent and get out and talk badly about my
Right.
partner, totally unhealthy. And there is a consent violation, because if I would imagine my husband going to his best friend to complain about
Right. You
me,
just need to imagine the mirror situation, and then
yeah,
that's okay.
yeah,
People don't do
I
enough
would feel,
of it.
yeah, I would feel violated, um but here's what he does have permission to do, and we've talked about this, and this might not fit for anyone listening here, but let me offer this scenario. I know that he has a best friend, and he talks with them about emotional things, and sometimes that involves me. And typically, my husband will say, "Oh, you know what? I shared what we talked about," or like, let's say we had a little argument, whatever it is, "Oh, I shared with so and so, and I had a really interesting like realization from it." And so sometimes it actually, the way we do it is it'll ultimately benefit us, because he's doing it in an honoring way, he's doing it respectfully, and there is a boundary. He's not shit. There's a threshold that we've felt into where he's not going to share the deepest secrets of us, but the concepts of what he may be going through in his partnership. And this is where I find a lot of value, going back to how I brought this up when I ask women, hey, do you have a supportive female in your life, or a supportive, actually it doesn't really matter so much the gender in this container. Do you have somebody who you feel you can share what you're going through? And it's very valuable too, especially if this female feels unsafe. Because the converse side is if a woman feels like she can't share anything about it and she feels immense shame that she's going through it, something that she feels like no other woman is going through, then she keeps it in, she self-blames, maybe I'm going through this difficult thing because it's my fault somehow. And then you have a woman suffering for years and years and years in loneliness and potentially emotional abuse. So there is value in sharing and getting a supportive network, and also realizing, wow, maybe other women aren't living this way, you know, and that's the big difference. And I totally agree with you. Like, trash talking and this gossipy nature is something that has been and is perpetuated amongst many cultures of this, but there's a healthy way to do it and with boundaries.
Yeah, I
And
see what you
you
mean.
need therapy. Potentially that couple
Right.
does also need that. One is not good, you know, without the other. So
Mhm, mhm,
you see the distinction I making a
mhm,
bit?
mhm. Yeah, I think it's so kind of from my perspective and my experience, that would be I really like how a guy just said in terms of his boundary, he said, well, I wouldn't want you to share with other people what I share with you, because I don't choose, like, I don't want you to talk about me, essentially. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what I learned in the relationship with him, that he really doesn't want to be. So then but he also wants me to be free to talk about myself.
Right.
Becomes very tricky once you're in the relationship with the person, and all this juicy stuff that that I want to talk about, that comes from my experience and my relationship. But then there's this creative opportunity. How do I talk about it in a way that I share without, like, that I essentially take the lessons and then I share. I actually think in my case, I really don't feel like I never have a need to talk with my friend about things in the relationship with him, because yeah, it's interesting, I don't have the simples. It's like we resolve our stuff and I see us working together. And my perspective is more, I'm learning from that and I enjoy it and I want to record it and I want to transmit it, because I see, like, I'm trying to capture what I'm witnessing, what is working, to capture what is not working. If something is not working, I feel like we are very much able, just the two of us, to come together and to work through these things. Kind of
And
to
yeah, and I was just gonna say that you and I have a focus academically from very
Yeah, yeah. And
therapeutic
years of
lenses.
experience and focus, and guy has been in therapy for many years. It's not it's a person with whom, like, he meets me, he meets me. And
Yeah,
he's very capable, also standing his boundary and his ground, and also acknowledging when, oh, okay, it makes sense. I can hear you. I feel what you say. He's able to be a student and a teacher, and I'm able to be a student and a teacher.
yeah. And so when we widen this discussion to the average everyday person who does not have this academic background, the relationships with other people who there is safety containers to share within boundaries that are agreed upon with your partner, or out of, in unfortunate cases, desperation because you need a lifeline, because if the marriage or partnership is so dangerous emotionally or worse, then that friend could be the lifeline that helps you get out, right? But outside of that, it makes total sense. Ira, that don't have that impulse because you and your partner have this container. Duh. But when we're talking
Yeah.
to
Yeah, but you see, I want to talk about it much more because I feel like this is so accessible, you see? Like, I guess
yeah,
I want to shorten conventional therapeutic
yeah,
pathways
hmm,
because we're in dire crisis. We need to wake up. And how coupleship is related to spiritual awakening, which we established is just expansion of the consciousness. Well, it's so incredible. Well, first of all, you will realize you have a very strong urge to couple. For many, many people, you'll have a strong urge to couple with the opposite sex, lifelong connection. Like this is why we have all these movies and they are going so viral, like Romeo and Juliet, because to many people it speaks. This is just the reality. It's okay for
yeah,
many people, it doesn't. I know that this is what I specialize, heterosexual relationships. I had clients who are not, and we've done beautiful work, but I want to be honest that this is
yeah.
what I live in this body. Um, Even though I had my experiences with beautiful experiences with ladies, very precious, but I very much need another body. Very, very traditional. That the whole other topic about, when I hear people say like, yeah, yeah, the topic about not having vaginal sex and what that's supposed to neurofeedback back to us. Because by design, I think I disagree again with concept that that's just not something that is rare and not accessible. I think that is symptom that we need to look into. And if we look into the symptom, we'll understand, well, it's because you're pushing yourself. It's because you're even choosing your partner, right? Like so many women choose their partner from the perspective like of what is like a good investment, right?
Um,
And we
choosing
established
partner
if
from
you
what?
a good investment from the perspective
Oh,
like a good investment. And this is where I want to keep taking us back to what it means, why it's so important to be in a very presence, that sensual presence, so that you can allow the wisdom and intelligence of your body to choose. It has to be, trusted. And that kind of, this is here where I see we can't, it's hard to keep pulling the consciousness in the lifestyle that is stressful. So, decluttering the room, making sure that you have this nice support of a relationship. For those people who have it, they don't understand why humans are fighting. They don't understand why you would do anything on this planet besides enjoying yourself with all the beauty, with all the, why spend this precious time? Why spend this precious time? But then, we see all the spectrum.
yeah, yeah. And I feel like what I'm about to say could be a whole nother topic, but I'll just drop it in, is that the selection of partners from this investment sort of standpoint, not just monetarily, but looking for partners based off of this list of ideals that you arrive to these dating experiences, then you add on what online dating is like. And so I work with, when I'm not working with couples, I'm primarily working with men, single men that have been struggling in the online dating space. And no wonder, because people are reduced on an online dating app to this business card, this of facts, and it's really, I think it's creating even more disconnect from the male identified body and feeling, because there's swipe, 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 swipe without
Right.
these.
That only if, again, I believe that even these apps can be used differently. It's only if you feel compelled, and a lot of us, me included, feel very compelled. Something about when you come to a social public space, you show one side, and when you go, you show the other. So, right, so you're not bringing the full authenticity, the full beauty of what you are. You don't, it's like people
On
feel
an
that
app,
they
you're saying you're not
on
able
an
to bring
app,
that.
and
Yeah.
social media in general, we're like there is a very strong, I feel it in me too, very strong impulse. Like I grapple with it because it's like, what do I need to show in order to be? And it's almost like that veil has to fall so that I can be what I am no matter where I am. I can be what I am no matter where I am. And if I can be what I am, no matter where I am, where I can transmute the truth of what I am, not be afraid of my truth. But you see where I'm taking us? It's like it's almost like a different type of a human that we are yet to evolve into. And some of us already there. So many of us already there. And some of us still need to pass through this gate. And then
Mm.
things are going to change. Things are going to be just different because then you can come to Tinder and you can build a beautiful profile that will just shine your beauty, and you can be very specific, like just talk to your beloved, talk to that woman that you are going to be hugging and kissing and licking, and talk to the guy, to that guy. But you see, it's not a list. It's the way I see it, it's almost like you go into this. So what I really like to do with women who are trying and men who are trying to manifest those partners, how do you connect to the vision? But then you don't linger too much on these details and like they have to be this, and you drop, you kind of pass through it, and then right away you connect to your sensuality. You go into your cells and you go into your skin and you go into, this pleasure practices where you attune your mind into that state that you want to be in. How do you want to wake up in the morning? How is this person going to be touching you and hugging you and holding you? And how are you going to be holding him? And what is the energy that is going to be surging between of you? Oh my goodness, I'm getting glimpses of Romeo and Juliet at the scene with the fish tank. That kind of a feel. Wonderful. Write that down. Write that down. This is what I want to have. I want to have this. Okay, where do when couple comes for a retreat, the first thing that I do, it's a 3 hour long for some people. For some, it's shorter. What are your communal, what is your couple dream for yourself as a couple that you want to put on the horizon of your relationship? And when I do this, I push people to be completely limitless, as imaginary, as visionaries. And then I can see the spirit shine, people will be like, so you go through this process. And this is where I connect people to the energy level. And it's like, especially for guys, it's almost like, oh my God, I didn't know that you can do it this way. It's so much easier. Yes, but you
Mm.
need to be willing, you know, to to follow. You need to be willing to follow, able to follow, because it's a different process. It's not, so you're in a sense, you're not fighting with you're working with people's mindsets, right? You're meeting them where they are and you're working with them, and you really have this beautiful language, how to connect and how to make it, like you kind of taking them by hand and
Yeah.
taking, and I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Hello. So you want a beautiful, juicy relationship. Let's get into it. This is what you have to do. No, and I'm going to talk. You're going to listen. This is the exercise. It's not exactly how I speak, right? Of
Sure.
course, you see how, but I guess this is what you communicated when you were talking about the land. So it's essentially not only me, it's also the land. It's the entire, I'm almost like showing people, look what happens when there is nothing but you and this nourishing natural environment. And that, of course, a lot of things people understand. I have so much clutter in my life, not just in my space, but in my time. What am I doing? What am I filling my time with? So many people coming from Silicon Valley. Norelyn, people are wealthy, but they are running like crazy. And I have to have a house and my children, and I have this many children, and they have to have this many houses, and they're like both like this. At the evening, they meet together. Okay, do you want to? No, I don't. Just don't even touch me. Like just let, right?
Yeah.
You don't have any bandwidth. Um, but that, and then of course, you know, and then imagine children growing up and they're like, Mom, I actually love girls and I want to ride horses. I don't care. I'm not going to university. And another crisis.
Yep. It was definitely not in the plan. But what do you, yeah, coming
But
to a
like,
place.
they've been doing all of this for you. Mom, I think you need to go to a psychologist. But this is a scam. Psychology is not real. Screams dad from another room. No, I'm not going to go to psychology. The dad, you have anger management issues. I love you, but you're not going to have access to me unless you, what? Who do? Goodbye, dad. Talk to you after you've done some work.
Oh, what a world. What a world.
Really hard for people who are, you know, just think about people who are, you know, like 50 plus, and there's this generational shift. Like this is where a rift is also, I think, very strong. And then there are, of course, people who are like younger. I see it also among my clients. They see it. They kind of they understand. They see. They're like, okay, no, I get what you're saying. I'm not here to suffer. I'm not here to squeeze myself into boundaries that are not fit into me. But for that, to establish these new boundaries and this new reality, I understand that I need to come into communion with my senses. And we've been talking, like, how do you tell people they don't know what they don't know? They don't know.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
you need to build a different relationship with your body. You need to build a different relationship. Are we at the cut point, or I see
I
that you're
think so.
looking at that?
Yeah. I think so.
That's good.